everyone. We are here today with Lorient Film Collective talking about their upcoming award-winning movie, Bound East for Cam Ranh. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today?
Hi everyone, I'm Loy. I co-directed with Jordan and we did producing work together as well.
My name's Steven. I played Corporal O'Neill.
I'm Jordan. I was the writer and co-director for Bound East For Cam Ranh.
The first question would be, what made you decide to film it when you did? And when was it that you filmed it, actually? Let's start with that.
We began the pre-production of this in the summer of, 2018, right, Jordan? Like that's when you and I got together and yeah, we filmed in 2018, fall of 2018. So I think in the summer of 2018 we got together and we started talking about an idea turned into another idea, and that's when we kind of got the ball rolling, and we decided that we wanted to shoot it immediately. So then we were like, let's shoot this fall let's shoot it right before the fall, and that's when we shot it. Like we shot it in mid-September.
So what were some challenges that you guys were facing?
I think, logistically speaking, trying to shoot outside in the middle of the night brings on a lot of challenges. In some ways, it was a little easier to shoot it as an evening piece than one that was during the day because we didn't have to fight the sun. But if we didn't have the location we did, which was so close to like power, really, so we were able to just run really, really long extension cables into the middle of the woods to power all the lights, which kind of presented its own set of challenges. And how do you light a scene that's supposed to take place, in the middle of a war zone in the jungle at night in Vietnam? And our DP was definitely up for the challenge. And I think in many parts of the film, the lighting definitely pays off as one of the stronger parts of the film for the storytelling and the emotion of these characters. They're just this little light in the dark of this conflict that they're lost in.
Yeah, like one of the benefits, Jordan, of us doing that too was we weren't in Vietnam. That's where the location of the film takes place. And if we were to shoot in the middle of the day, I feel like the time of year we wanted to shoot it in wouldn't have translated well, like all of the pine trees and stuff, because we're in Massachusetts. Like it would not have sold the look and feel of Vietnam at all. And I think because we shot at night and lit it the way that we did, we were able to somewhat capture that type of atmosphere and environment. But it was really difficult because a week prior to our shoot, we actually went up to the location and we pre-lit everything. We set up all the lights. We climbed, we were trying to figure out the shot plans and where the lighting floor plan was, and how to run the extension cables up the hill and things like that. And after we did all that, that's when Jordan went and cleared out everything that we needed to do, like the overgrown patches and stuff that would be dangerous for our actors and our crew to be in. So it was just like a lot of effort to shoot, like to make it really look like it's in the wild, so I think that was a huge obstacle that we had to overcome and figure out logistically.
And it's pretty crazy to think, the original idea called for multiple locations across multiple times, and it's just the amount of work that went into just making that one location ready for a one night shoot. I guess it was much more appropriate for our resources And our budget.
Yeah. So to bring that back, Jordan, and, you know, I'm sure you remember it as much as I do, is to part of Shura's question there, the first question she asked there is like why we shot, when we shot, and why the story, right? Like the original story we had was this almost like a superhero war soldier that was in the woods, and he traveled to many different locations in the jungle. And it was like a story that we were both like really pumped, but then when we started planning out the nitty gritty of what it'll take to actually put this into production, we were just like, we can't do it with the amount of money that we were going to put up. And also logistically, like to have multiple locations where we can film at night in the woods is just, it wasn't feasible. Unless we got like a power generator, and then that's talking about like dragging that up to some super woodsy area that we didn't really even have control over, to like how we cut down everything that we needed to cut down, you know? So that had a lot of influence, and we had to get really creative on how to tell a similar story to that, but within the confines of having one location. And that was kind of like a creative challenge and a hurdle that we both had to go through, you know?
Yeah, and it ended up kind of reshaping the story too, which
Completely.
probably for the best, right?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like maybe one day we'll get back to the other story.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that was totally in our wheelhouse, right? Just like
Yeah.
a folk tale that just happens to take place in the middle of the Vietnam War. But
yeah.
No, I'm glad. I'm really happy with how this one came out.
For sure.
I think it just speaks to how far our storytelling ability had come up to that point.
Yeah.
The ability of our actors up to that point, and our camera crews, and it just all came together pretty nicely.
Yeah, I mean, like what we asked of them was kind of like another challenge that we had to do was we filmed it all in one night. It's a what, it's, you know, it's 10 minutes plus film, and we filmed it all in one night because we were racing the sun. At one point, it was like I think 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were just like, we gotta bang these parts out. And kudos to our actors for, you know, muscling it through, staying in character and pushing through the night, because our first shot went up at like 8 p.m., which was later than the intended time, but also kind of in a way expected, because things don't really go too smoothly all the time on film sets.
No, you take that into account when you plan out how long it's going to take you to shoot something, right? Like,
yeah,
we figured, hey, it's like an 8-page script, so at least 8 hours of shooting.
At least that's what we were pushing for really hard.
Yeah, and kudos to everybody that stuck through it and was able to basically keep energy up the entire time. That definitely made it go as well and as smooth as it did. Is that nobody ever flagged. Everyone was just, once
no
we
one complained.
rolling, yeah,
like that was so. We worked with a lot of really hardworking and talented people that night too, that I would like to work with again in the future. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad that we took the approach that we did, because it paid off. Like imagine doing that for 3 different locations. You know, like as an actor, Steven, like imagine having to go through that 3 times. Like that's a similar grueling process of that, you know?
Oh yeah. To be honest, I didn't know you guys had 2 additional locations originally set up. So now hearing that, I'm like, wow, okay. I'm interested to see like what you had planned originally, but yeah, keeping that energy was tough for an all-nighter, and then to do that 2 more times, to think about that, it's just like, whew. But I mean, as an actor, you gotta tough it out, you gotta do it. But you guys really set the stage for that energy, because no lie, the second I got on set and I saw what you guys mowed down in the woods and like set up everything, it sparked so much like energy and passion. I was like, this is it. And then seeing what Jordan did with the props, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
We're in it. Like we're in it. So that's why when we did that first take, and like I started screaming, and like you guys made that comment. You're like, "Oh, we're doing this." I'm like, "Yeah, you guys set this up. Like you guys got the ball rolling."
I mean, it's part of our jobs to, give our actors and our crew inspiration. So I'm happy that that played out and helped you mentally get into it, because it's really hard sometimes to, be that focused all the time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But,
Bless you.
oh yeah, bless you, sure.
You're doing tight.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We can cut that out. I guess I didn't say anything important anyway.
I was trying. If you look at it, I actually really tried to not sneeze.
Yeah. But I guess we should move forward now.
So, what inspired the story? What was the inspiration for this story to be created? Actually,
All right, I guess because I wrote it, I should answer that one.
A little bit.
So, that summer, Ken Burns's 11-part documentary on the Vietnam War was dropped on Netflix. And as the original idea also took place in Vietnam, kind of figured it would be useful to get a little bit more grounded in the historical context, and just like the stories of the people that actually endured it, because that's what's masterful about Ken Burns's documentary style, is that he really just gives you the essential information to ground you in the history, and then just lets people tell their stories. It's just oral history. And pretty much it was those personal stories that I realized I had never really thought about much about the people that had gone through the Vietnam War. It's just it's still a very sore subject today in the United States, as opposed to, like, say, stories about like World War II or the Revolution, where we're heroes all the time. And what's fascinating about the Vietnam War in American history is that it's the stories that come out of that, of the people that fought and died, is really a lot similar to kind of stories that other people, other nations, other cultures have about war. It's much more in line with a sort of universal perception on, like, the personal tragedy of war and the people that get caught up in it. And that was just a fertile ground for, let's tell a story without, like, the baggage of American concepts of, like, patriotic war. Let's just tell a story about 3 ordinary people that would really just be background extras in any other type of war film, but were the people that did the fighting and the dying in the Vietnam War, or the American War, as it's called over in Vietnam. And it was from that point on, the story just kind of wrote itself from the stories that were from those primary sources of the people that live there. And those were just stories we wanted to tell and get people invested and moved by. And I can't thank the actors enough for really embodying not even those characters, the people that went through those experiences in Vietnam.
Yeah, Jordan, the when you were giving all the actors the prep work, the documentary was amazing, like perfect for research, because I was watching it, and like you said, I was like, I never knew this happened with these people. Like, I didn't know they were going through this while they were over there. Like, you just think, oh, war soldiers, they're there for their mission, mission accomplished, they go home, stuff like that. But they go through a hell of a lot of shit. Pardon my French, but like there's baggage from they bring from home, and things like that. But just watching that documentary definitely helped pave the way and set the tone for what my character, or what I needed to bring out in my character, and things like that.
I mean, that's kind of what strikes me, and what you embodied so well is that, even though there's this kind of saying that all war films kind of end up becoming anti-war films in a way, because they're unflinchingly showing what's going on. Like the people actually in them aren't really stopping to reflect per se on like the tragedy of war, or like whether like war is like a force that gives us meaning or something. It's just another chapter in their lives, really, but it's just a really inverse, nightmarish version of reality where everything just gets kind of turned on its head. And it's not so much that there's heroes and villains, it's just regular people that have been thrust into this, ordinary people that have been thrust into this extraordinary experience. And the tragedy is that some people don't get to come back from that. And
Well, I would say most people don't get to come back from that, right? Like,
no, you're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
who endures like the experience of like combat and
Yeah.
is unchanged by it? You're literally like,
Yeah.
that's why they call it baptism by fire, right?
Yeah, like you end up being a completely different person when you get back home, if you get back home. So like you don't return as the same person that you entered as. And these characters, like, there is no hero.
Okay, so another question that I have is, what do you think is the most underrated moment in the film?
Middle layer of like what these characters are going through sometimes get lost between the gunfights and the final tragic moments. And I think that's what's underrated in the story, like what these characters may be going through emotionally throughout the piece, as opposed to what ultimately ends up happening in the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what comes to mind as I was revisiting the film, was a moment right in the middle. And I'll spoil it, 'cause it's right after a very action-packed moment, and it's just really quiet. The dust is settled, and Ari's character, the medic, as he reemerges back into like this quiet of the jungle, of like after the storm, and as soon as he notices that O'Neill has lapsed into unconscious, he immediately springs into action, forgetting about what he just experienced, or what he's literally in the middle of experiencing. And it's just that little personal moment of his where you see how much he has transformed from the start of the film, where he's just unthinking, unfeeling, just kind of waiting for O'Neill to die, to this turn in the story where he's now actively concerned and invested in his well-being. Is just the whole little scene within the scene. I just found myself drawn to it, and it's kind of my vote for underrated part of the film, underrated moment.
Yeah, definitely somewhere in the middle for underrated.
Yeah, I was gonna agree. It's like the beginning, you have the action, the end, you have the emotional tie-in and everything. But I agree with the middle. My underrated moment, it's in the middle, but it's not exactly what Jordan was saying. For me, it was kind of like when all three of the actors were together. In that moment, you kind of saw that right then and there, they're just ordinary people. Like, they're in that time together, that they have bonded. They became brothers, and in without spoiling anything, to like, you could see what each were going through as that middle part progresses. One ventures off, and then the other, and then what is that person going through to make that decision, And it's like for me, it's just like a moment of humanity within the chaos, and that for me was a really underrated moment, to show all three at the same time, even though it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, Stephen, I kind of like want to get a better understanding of, well, not a better understanding, but like I want you to tell people, like, where did you have to go emotionally? How deep did you dig to find that character?
For O'Neill, I had to dig pretty deep. Not gonna lie. A lot of it helped with, like I said, Jordan, with the documentary to get that mindset before the end, where the real reflection took place. I took it to a very, very personal space, but for my own self, it was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was because it's pretty heavy stuff, especially towards the end, you know. Um, so I think it's really important to kind of like let people know that you had to grab a slice of your own reality in order to portray a truth, because you did. That's what actors do, right? Like they have to portray a truth, but as a lie. So it's like really, it's like a very perplexing type of ordeal.
Yeah, it's hard to, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So were there any, I would ask Steven that question, like were there any moments where you're like, oh, I wish I made this different or acted different in this scene, or I would like to change this and make it better, or I don't know, something that you would change in the some of the scenes.
So, looking back at the film, I'm always looking at what I can do better, what I did in what scene, what I can change. For Bound East, the only part I could really think or say I could do different was probably just slow down with some of my speech in the early part of the film, because that's the really only painstaking part that I see when I watch it. But other than that, I think everyone did a fantastic job. There's not much I would change because I really dearly put this film to heart, because it really came out magnificently. I really can't say that enough to both Jordan and Loy and everyone that worked on the film. It's a really great film.
Yeah, so thank you, Stephen, for answering that question. I guess Jordan, you and Lloyd could answer that question as well. Is there any parts of the movie that you both felt like this could have been better, either with actors or with angle of the shot that you guys got?
Yeah, I would have replaced all the actors. uh, no, the actors are why the film works so well, so we would not. What I would probably reconsider is probably how much digital effects, even the straightforward pared down story ended up requiring. Probably would have tried to have made sure that the final product was a lot more dependent on what we accomplished on set, as opposed to using the post-production process to kind of get the film to where it needed to be in order to get the final viewing experience that you all get to enjoy on Veterans Day.
Yeah, one of the big things that, and Jordan and I have gone back and forth about this film hundreds of times, about the things we would have changed, and I think one of the big ones was we had 2 cameras on set, and we rolled both of them at the same time, and for great reason. However, that being said, what we didn't do was, like, if we could change one thing, it was like, we had one camera that captured the master shot. Our second camera, I think we wish we could have been a little more intentful with where it's being placed and what it's capturing. Because when you have 2 cameras, you have the liberty of having one capturing everything so you don't miss anything, and the B camera really capturing all the small intricacies that is going on in each scene. Whether it be having it be close up more on one character during, that scene or that moment, or being angled a little bit differently so that it tells a little bit of a different story. It gives it off a different vibe. And that's something that Jordan and I had talked about afterwards. Is like, and moving forward, we're like, these are the essential shots, and these are also the shots that we wanna tell by framing it up the way that we want to tell the story by framing up the story exactly the way that we have in our heads and on the storyboards that we work so hard on. So I think that's one of the biggest changes that I would have made that night.
If I could kind of build off of that quickly, I think like one of our major takeaways from that is really in terms of how we plan to use the cameras in terms of like shooting it in masters the way we did. Like we got everything we needed to make a film, in the editing room. But I think we were of an agreement going forward that storyboarding is an essential part of the process and how we tell stories. And in terms of what we want the camera to see, what we want the camera to capture as not just like a point of view in the scene, but as an extension of the storytelling being done by the script and the direction and the actors and the lighting. And that was probably the most crucial lesson I think we took away.
Absolutely.
Forward.
Absolutely. Especially if you have two cameras, utilize both of them. Have one to do masters and the other one be intentful. So, yeah. I think that about wraps it up.
So I have mentioned in the beginning that it's an award-winning movie. So I would like to ask what awards have this movie won, and also for upcoming movie creators or filmmakers, what are some pointers that you guys would give them? So also their movies maybe win some awards.
Thanks for talking us up that much. It makes us feel better. But some of the pointers is really just understanding story structure. And I don't mean that by like copying other stories fully, but stories have a structure to them, and get down to the nitty gritty, understand that science of the stories that you want to tell, and then learning it so much that then you can adapt it to your own and make it your own. That's the point. Like, you people often go out and try to be so different, but it's like there is a system that's in place. Like, master the system, and then that's when you can build who you are and what you do off of that, because that's proven to have already worked. And that's where your individuality will really shine and thrive, as opposed to just doing it on your own and completely, because that way works too. But learn from other people's mistakes and the things that they have taught, and that's what Jordan and I strive to do. Like, we watch our favorite directors and filmmakers and storytellers, right? And we take away what we like. We don't copy them necessarily, but we take away what we like, and we learn from what they do, and we try to adapt it into our own way and our own style. And in regards to like what awards this has won and stuff, like Steven was nominated for Best Actor in one of the festivals. We got nominated for Best Dramatic Short. We won a Sound Design Award. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan. And it was a pretty successful run in the festival circuit, in my opinion. And we strive to do more. We strive to do better. And really put your work out there. There's no, be proud, because you're never gonna make the best film when it's like early on in your film career. You're not gonna make an Oscar movie off the bat. Like, get that out of your head. Like, appreciate where you are at your current ability, and build off of that. Be honest with yourself and hold each other accountable. Like Jordan, Steven, and I, we work together a lot, and we try to hold each other accountable. So that's what my advice would be.
Yeah, I mean, what it really comes down to is you know, accepting that you are just kind of learning the ropes, but the only way to learn that is by constantly pushing the boundaries of what you think you're capable of, right? And you will make mistakes, and you will kind of run up against a wall every now and again. There were definitely many moments like that, as we discussed when even planning the project, let alone when it came to shooting and editing it. But we learned so much that going forward, we feel like we're taking ourselves a lot more seriously in terms of what we can do and pushing that even further. And the only way you can do that is by finding other people that really have the same mindset, that they're not just gonna settle for what they think they can do or get discouraged if things don't work out exactly the way they're meant to. And that's kind of something I ended up telling somebody at a festival, was really just don't be deterred if other people aren't really on the same page with your goals and your dreams and ambitions. Because if you stick it out, people like you'll find them and come across them, and you're going to make some really cool stuff. And that was the best part of this project and doing these projects and filmmaking.
Yeah, for actors out there, if you're just starting out, do as much projects as you can, because the more reps, the better. Because not only are you getting out there and practicing, you can look back at those projects, see what you did that you think that you did wrong, that you can do better, what you can do next time. A big thing that is huge with acting is research. I commend Jordan for this on this film for providing that research information that helped perfectly for this film. And basically, our jobs as actors is to connect the audience with the story that we're in. And the best way to do that is an emotional connection. If the story calls for it, if it's a comedy, there's other avenues to do it. But for dramatic pieces like this, a lot of the time it is emotion. Don't be afraid to go into those deep personal spaces. It's going to be tough. It takes a lot of practice. Take classes. There's great acting classes out there with Boston Casting, Slate Casting. There's amazing acting coaches there. They'll teach you different strategies and different methods that have really helped me. But don't be afraid to go into that personal space if you need it, because it will bring out the best performance that you don't even think that you can do. Like the ending of this movie, like I keep hearing from Lloyd, Jordan, people that watch it, that like it connected with them a lot at the end. They felt something. And honestly, when I was filming it, I didn't think I was going to have that approach. I was just like, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to go to this space to give what I think the scene needs, and it's what it needed. So definitely don't give up. Keep pushing, keep grinding. Do as much research as possible when you do get a gig, and keep auditioning and practicing in the meantime until you get that gig. That's my advice.
Great. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here and talking about the movie. The movie will be released on a Veterans Day, which is on the 11th on Wednesday. So we all are looking forward watching it and getting some experience that you all are talking about. Again, thank you so much, and hopefully we're gonna talk soon again.
I guess.
Thank you.